Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham joins me now. Senator, good to see you. You're pretty fired up in there. What had you feeling so passionate this afternoon?
This is still America, I hope. You know, everybody in America deserves due process, including Donald Trump. What's happening in the House should worry every American about the future of the presidency. They had an impeachment inquiry vote, and it failed. 130-something Democrats voted against an impeachment inquiry, so they've started this behind closed doors process. It's not going through the Judiciary Committee, it's in the Intel Committee. They're interviewing people behind closed doors. The president can't confront his accusers, and Democrats are selectively leaking out information to drive down his poll numbers. This is a sham. Every American should be bothered by what they're doing to President Trump. And my resolution today calls on the House to embrace the process that was given to President Clinton, the ability to call witnesses on your behalf and to ask questions of your accusers. And by the way, who the hell is the whistleblower and when are we going to know and what's their bias? So yeah, I was fired up because whether you like President Trump or not, what they're doing to him is basically un-American.
All right, so a number of the questions, and one of the questions that I think, got you incensed in there today was the comparison to the way the process went back in 1998 with Bill Clinton. And going back to then, you said the depositions, I think, will determine whether or not we go forward with the hearings, and I think that that's a very smart thing to do. So the question is, what's the difference? How is the process different now?
Well, in October of 1998, the House as a whole voted to open up an inquiry. We had 31 Democrats on record authorizing the House to hold hearings. We did have depositions, but President Clinton was included completely. The bottom line is you can have depositions outside of public, but the entire impeachment process was in public. Ken Starr spent 5 years investigating Bill Clinton. He testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, before the whole country, was asked questions under oath. President Clinton was given the ability to call witnesses on his behalf and to cross-examine those who accused him of misdeeds. None of that exists. They had an impeachment inquiry vote, and it went down in flames. This is a shadow substitute. A transparent process was shot down, and you got now, I think, a closed-door process. All the difference in the world.
So I guess one of the things that people on your side of the aisle are asking about what happens now is you have this resolution, people are signing on to it, but what changes in the process? Because you have said not too long ago, let's get Kurt Volker in and let's have him testify in public on the Senate side. Yeah. Even Rudy Giuliani, you mentioned today, people don't understand his side of the story, and he's getting piled on in these hearings as well. Can you make that happen?
Well, here's the point. I'm trying to stop what I think is a political hit job on President Trump. What they're doing is calling witnesses behind closed doors, like Bill Taylor. They give you a 15-page opening statement, but they don't share with you questions like, have you ever met President Trump? Do you know personally there was a quid pro quo? How do you explain the fact that the president of the Ukraine denies that there was a quid pro quo? Right. The cross-examination by Radcliffe is missing here. The whole process is designed to hurt President Trump politically. So calling somebody in the Senate is not what I'm trying to do right now. We'll have Horowitz. You'll find out about 2016 here soon enough. I'm trying to stop a process in the House that will destroy the presidency over time if it's allowed to continue.
But can you do that? I mean, it's really all in their court right now, isn't it?
No, not really. Well, okay, where does it go? It goes to the Senate. I've got 46 U.S. senators on record right now saying that the process in the House is wrong, is flawed, and it's lacking in due process. All I'm asking is to give President Trump the same rights that Nixon and Clinton had, the ability to defend yourself. How would you like to be accused of something that could destroy your presidency and they won't even tell you who the witness is? The whistleblower is still anonymous to this day. How would you like to be on the receiving end of a process where they selectively leak information and you have no idea what's going on behind closed doors? The House stormed the place because they're shut out. If this were being done by a Republican to a Democrat, they would be tearing this town apart.
Here's one of your colleagues asking, answering the question about what can be done on the Senate side and, putting some pressure on you with that regard. In that regard, here's this.
He needs to go ahead and exercise his power. We've been waiting a long time on this. He needs to use his clout, and only he can do it.
What do you say to that, Senator?
Well, number one, the whistleblower complaint was sent to Intel. With all due respect with Senator Paul, think this thing through. I'm not going to call Adam Schiff. Anybody who thinks that a senator is going to call a congressman to testify doesn't understand our constitutional democracy. He may be a fact witness, but so is President Trump. Do you really want to call President Trump as a fact witness? We've got a process in place in the Senate where the Intel Committee is looking at the whistleblower complaint. What I can promise your audience is I'm going to do everything I can to shed scrutiny on the House process. Every Republican should be behind my resolution, and hopefully some Democrats condemning what I think is a kangaroo court in the House. What does it matter? If we can get enough senators to say we don't believe the process in the House is legitimate, I will move to dismiss any article of impeachment that comes out of this sham process. That's why this is important.
You pointed out today a couple of times that you're not making a judgment on whether or not the president did or did not do anything wrong.
Right, I am. I'm telling the whole world the phone call is just fine. I've seen no evidence of misconduct, but I'm speaking for myself. The resolution is condemning the House process. That's fundamentally flawed. It lacks due process, and it's completely different than what Clinton was able to do when Republicans were in charge.
Before I let you go, one quick question. This is a headline from Bloomberg today. John Bolton's silence hangs over impeachment inquiry. A lot of people speculating about which way he may go in this when his testimony comes out. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can tell you in about 30 seconds. As far as, okay, quid pro quo means, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you. It's kind of a threat. The president of the Ukraine has said he was not threatened by President Trump regarding conducting an investigation tied to accepting military aid. At the time of the phone call, they didn't even know that the aid was suspended. So I don't care what Bolton says. I don't care what Taylor says. You can't have a crime unless you have a victim. There is no victim here. We can talk about this till the cows come home. Mueller wasn't enough. They're trying to destroy this guy's presidency. It's always something. And this is a bunch of BS. And I'm standing up for due process against a kangaroo court in the House, and I hope all Republicans will help me.
Senator, thank you for being here. But I want to ask you one more question because I'm just getting some information that's coming through from the White House with regard to Syria and want to get you to weigh in on that. The story is that the United States is considering sending tanks to Syria to protect our troops, tanks and other equipment to protect our troops there in a bit of a reacceleration, I guess, of our force on the ground there. Any thoughts on that? Is that a surprise to you? I would guess not.
No, it's not. So I met in the Situation Room today with President Trump. There were about 8 or 10 senators. Let me just say this. I know you got time, but the President was very together today. General Milley presented a plan to protect us against the rise of ISIS, keep the oil fields out of the hands of ISIS and Iran. There's like $45 million a month. Secure those oil fields so the money won't go to our enemies. Make sure it goes to our allies like the Kurds. The president has a plan in place. I'm very encouraged about what I see. And when the Russians and the Iranians make a play on this oil, if they do, they're going to meet an iron fist from President Trump.
Thank you so much. Senator Lindsey Graham, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for being here tonight.
You.